How you doing, guys? Today I'm starting the field strip of my Rug Rider in order to get the 5 horsepower electric start engine that I just finished in the last couple videos onto it. You can see I put the decal kit on there, so the engine looks sharp, I'll tell you that much. This though is going to entail no surgery. Nothing's going to need to be modified, but it needs some surgery from the perspective. I got to take the mower deck off, all the pulleys. I got to take the hood, the steering wheel, and the hood stands out of the way in order to get to, once I get the bolts up, the ability to lift that engine up and off of the engine plate. Woo! Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this thing field stripped, and then we'll start talking about how we're going to reassemble it and get the electric start engine in place. Just when I thought I had everything thought through, curveball. Okay, so let's see why. The 4 horsepower engine that's on the tractor, which would be the original style engine, has a 1-inch crankshaft with a 3/16 key slot. The new engine, the 5 horsepower engine, has a 1-inch crankshaft, but it has a 1/4-inch key slot. So this key slot is too big for the original pulley that goes on the rug. It's good and it's bad. It's bad because I'm not going to be able, there's no point in field stripping this tractor any further because I really need to get the engine pulley to fit and work on this engine. So the bad is we're going to take it off the jack stands and put it back in the corner. And the bad is I'm going to have to spend time making a new key insert so I can use that slot with the original pulley. So we're going to have a little bit of engineering going on, right? But the good is this. It's smaller on this engine than it is on that engine. Because if this engine was 3/16 and that was 1/4-inch, that would be a real problem because then I would have to go ahead and modify, if I wanted to put the engine on, I'd have to modify this original pulley. And we are not modifying the original pulley. We're not doing that. So basically, where is it? Here we go. Where is that little, yeah, that's it. Yeah, there it is. So if you look right in here, you can see that there's a small 3/16 nub inside this pulley. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a piece of 1/4-inch key stock that fits this slot in this crank, and then I'll get like a small Woodruff key cutter. I'll make a little dimple right in the center where that 3/16 nub or key can go into, and then the whole thing, like I'll have the key all the way through, the 1/4-inch key all the way, then I'll make the nub. So I'll put that in place, and then I'll slide the whole assembly up onto the crankshaft, and it actually should be better because where this just had that little tiny nub to keep the engine rolling forward, because that's what actually drives the transmission, I'll have a full engagement all the way through the entire keyway of the crank. All right, that was a lot. I'm sorry, but there's no point in going any further. So I'm going to take this thing off the jack stands. I am going to probably go to the hardware store and get a key, a 1/4-inch key. Key material, I should put it, unless I have some. I might have some, but I'll have to check. And then we'll start doing the layout and getting the pulley to fit onto this crankshaft perfectly before we go any further with this.
Standard type of connectors come included. Those will work just fine. Each makes just give us a little more protection and duration.
So after some rough math and a little bit of machining, I came up with what I think is going to work. My original thought or design was to basically make like a little trough that the little nub inside the pulley here, you can see it right there at about the 3 o'clock position. That little nub is what engages the key of the crankshaft of the motor. I thought I would start off and just make a kind of a big trough slot that little nub could go in, and then this would fit into the keyway into the crankshaft. But after looking at it, and I was like, you know what, this is just not what I want. So I went to design number 2, which is to actually make an insert for the crankshaft, okay, and just plow out a little section or a little cove, if you want to call it, that nub in the pulley will interface. So in other words, I'll drop this down into the pulley, put the nub in there, and then slide the pulley and this insert all the way up the key slot of the crankshaft. Now, I cut these ends off it, and I do need to trim the ends down to get this slot centered up so the little key nub will drop into it easily. But in general, the mathematics here is pretty simple. The depth of the keyway in the crank is 1/8 of an inch. That's that thickness right there. The width is 1/4 inch. That's the width right there. Okay. And the length is 2.125, 2 1/8 inches. But I'll make that in a few minutes. Now, to come up with how deep this slot needed to be, I took my little bore gauge and I measured the bore of the pulley, which was exactly or pretty close to 1.0300. And then I took another measurement with the bore gauge from the top of the nub to the opposing side of the bore. Okay, so that way I knew how thick the nub was, so to speak. And that measured out to be 0.9455. So the nub itself is 0.0845 in height. So what I did was I bored down into this 0.0845, and that's the depth of the slot. And the slot obviously is centered as close as I could get it into the 1/4 inch piece of steel. Now, the thickness of the base, so the thickness of the base of the slot to the back is actually 0.045. All right. And that's taking 1/8 inch, minusing this, and then that's what's left over. So that's how thick the back of it is. And what was this here? And then because I had machined the piece of steel down a couple times, it was 0.235 thick. I need 1/8. So then on the back side, the last machine, to get it to the appropriate thickness of 1/8 inch, I had to take 0.110 off. So that's essentially where this is. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a measurement from the base of the pulley, the very bottom of the pulley, okay, to probably the top of the nub, the very top, not the thickness top, but the part of the nub that's closest to me or closest to us, so I can get the measurement basically from where the arc starts to where I need to cut it off. And I should be able to drop this down, and that should interface with the nub. Then from there, I will go to the crankshaft and see how much I need to take off the opposing side, so that way this will fit in and everything will slide together real nice. Because this key slot thing, the insert is not going to come all the way up to the top of the pulley, because the crankshaft key is actually tapered out at the top. And I'll show you that at later on. I might even shape this a little bit so that way it's fully in there. And I think what will end up happening is we'll have full engagement. So in other words, this entire piece will be engaged in the crankshaft. This will be completely, this one totally encapsulates the nub, and this whole thing will all become one because there's a bolt at the bottom side that holds everything together. So there's nowhere for this to go. If I had used this piece and thinned it down, it was my belief that it would have wiggled around because there's really a lack of material to hold this steady. So with this, I'm using the entire key way of the crankshaft. All right, I know that was a lot, so let's go ahead and do some trimming and get this thing fitted in. I went ahead and measured from the top side, because this is how the pulley goes on the engine. So essentially from the top side of the nub to the base of the pulley itself, which is, well, I'd say it's a good 1/8 of an inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch thick. So from the inside base, not the outside, the inside base to this, I took a measurement. I used my dial calipers right there to make that measurement. Drop the line. So I'm going to go ahead and nip this portion of the key off. I'm hoping that it'll just drop in, but I might have to file fit it. I have the key in the bore of the pulley. If we take a look, what I'm hoping is you can see, or I can show, that edge is flat all the way against the pulley on both sides. So the little nub is in my little key slot that I made. The key itself appears to sit nice and flush all the way along the pulley bore. So what I need to do now is I need to measure the crank, because the crank actually has a little bevel right here. You can see the bevel right there. So I'm going to measure down just a hair from the bevel start to the base. And that should give me the length of the key that I need, because the inside of this bore actually sits against the bottom of the crank. So let me get that done. Let me get that measurement. Let me get a good measurement. Then I'll cut the overall length. We'll go ahead and test fit it. Okay, this is like the 30th time I've tried to shoot this, but it just won't go. There we go. All right, so preliminary test fit, I couldn't have asked for that to go better. I did go ahead and sand the edges. The only thing I do have a little issue with is if you see right here at the very bottom, if it would focus, which it's not going to, there's a little edge right there where the key sticks out of the crankshaft just a hair proud. I'm sorry about the blurriness. It just, this stupid camera won't focus. So in essence, let me pull back so that way you don't go blind. Right here, the key sticks out of the crank just by a couple thousandths. That's going to be an issue. The top fits absolutely flush perfect. It slides in and out. I do it with my, actually I can show you right here. The key itself fits beautiful in the slot. There's no play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and thin this section of the key down a little bit, and we'll go for an official test fit. Holy cow, it works. I can't believe it. It fits. I mean, there's maybe just a couple thousandths in there, if that. So that thing is perfect, and it slides on and off mint. I'm just holding it up because if I let go, everything's going to, kind of fall apart. That key that I made, I just took a little tit of grease on the top, little tit of grease on the bottom of it just to hold it in place. And my God, it's there. Dude, and look at this. Look how nice it slides on and off the shaft. I mean, I'm just going to let it come off. Oh my God, I can't believe how good that came out. And look how perfect it is in there. Oh my, that is, I'm sorry guys, I'm a little bit proud of myself right here. I was a little nervous. I was a little nervous. I said I rebuilt this engine and I don't even know how I'm going to be able to use it. But we are going to continue the engine swap to electric start on my rug carpet cut in the next video. I know this one was a little bit long, but I ran into a problem. Had to come up with options. I think I picked the best option. Like I said, I just held it in place with a little bit of grease. So that's all I'm going to do again is right there, just couple little tits of grease just to hold it in place. And it held it all in place, and I was able to just slide it right on. So, yeah, that is pretty darn cool. All right, guys, not quite the ending result that I wanted, but I think it's pretty positive. So you can always just kind of like come up with options, right? And I came up with an option. It appears to have worked. So I'm super stoked. You can probably tell because I'm talking in circles here. With that, that's the end of this video. We will be back on the engine swap of my rug carpet cut in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, just crossed 5,000 subscribers. Unbelievable. Again, unbelievable. Thank you so much. I'll have a video about that coming out shortly. But again, thank you for all your viewership. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for leaving a comment. I truly appreciate it. Until we meet up again to work on this little guy, you have a great day.